don't be afraid to write a shitty sentence. And I'm like,
Mhm.
just just go with it. I think at the end of the day, it's like it's done and you can always go back and fix it. You're
Oh yeah.
probably going to go back and fix it, you know?
Hmm.
So I feel good. Because you know the first chapter was the part that was kicking my butt.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
now
You
I'm
started
like,
over
well,
several
let's do it.
times.
Let's do the rest.
So that's sorry. I was having double speak because I had the video going,
Yeah, yeah,
making sure that it was going live and
yeah.
playing back.
So how's it going
So
for you?
it's going all right. So as you know, I had to restart,
Yes.
and but that was a good thing. And
Okay.
so I feel like there's a lot more structure now, and there's more motivation, or more the motivations make more sense
Okay.
now. Yeah. So it just wasn't feeling genuine
Hmm.
in the last version. So I
Yeah.
had to scrap it and start over. So yeah, so now my heroine's a lot more salty than she was the
Makes
person.
sense for your story. It
Yeah.
makes total sense. Yes.
So yeah. All right. So what else have you been up to? I just want to chat a little bit before we jump into the
Yeah.
sprint.
Um, I don't know. I feel like I'm just like easing into 2022, you know. I've been reading. I am taking two classes this semester and it is kicking my
Hmm.
butt. But I kept because you know, I hear so many people that are like, "Oh, when I was doing grad school or just college in general, like I didn't read that much." And I refuse to not figure out a way to make time for the things that I need to like
Yeah.
fuel myself.
Hmm.
So I'm like, okay, well, you're gonna have, you know, pick your days, Sunday and Monday. Those are the days that like I will sit there and do everything I need to do to get it done so that the rest of the week I can read, I can watch Frasier, I can write.
Yeah.
So it's great. That's really what 2022 has been up to. But
Good.
um yeah, I want this to be the year where I finish something. And if you get a bunch of rejection letters, you get rejection letters
Hmm.
to at least have started the process of trying, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I see all these like pitch sessions or just
Hmm.
in general, like, hey, we're looking for submissions and they come and go. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're never going to have anything to submit if you don't sit down and write. So,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely feel the same. I think I've decided, so I'm going to work on focusing on this one that I'm going to submit and
okay.
try and query and everything. But then I've also decided I'm going to try and polish up a paranormal manuscript I have, and I think I'm just going to self-publish it. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, so
And then
I
what
think I'll
inspired
take
that
that back.
choice? What inspired that choice?
Just wanting to actually have something out there, just wanting to actually say, you know what, yes, I'm a published author, self-published, but you know what, who
Yeah.
cares? And I can now have that on my bio.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple people will read
Yeah.
it.
I mean, I'll read it. I feel like
Oh, thank you.
paranormal is like the subgenre of our hearts, except for Sarah's. She doesn't really care about paranormal. But
Right, yeah.
hi,
Hi,
Alicia. You know,
Alicia.
I just feel like we have such a soft spot for paranormal romance.
And I don't know what it is, but it's something you can just keep coming back to.
Yeah.
You know?
I think what I love it is that you can I realized this last year when I was like reading through some nocturnes. Like you can explore real life social stuff under the guise of paranormal, you know, whether it's like
Uh-huh.
stuff that's going on now or like historical stuff. But it's just so much cooler because you're dealing with like vampires and witches and you know, it's just different. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's the whole there's a whole community in there when you really get
Yeah.
into like a deep paranormal, and so like the deeper you go in, the more you get into the lore and everything, and
Yes.
And like, so I just finished Kiss of the Demon King by Cressley Cole, which is part of the Immortals After Dark series. Oh, and
So it's
Nicole's
the one
here.
after the ghost one?
It's no, so there's one in between that. So this one's
You've read the next two?
yes, I I know. I go crazy on it sometimes. Like that Scrib. Sometimes when I have a free day, I'm just like, whatever. I'll just I'll just listen to a whole book.
How have they been in comparison to the ghost book? Because I know we both loved the ghost book.
So the ghost book was great. The one following up was fine. It was good, but it didn't quite measure up. The one after though was really good. So I'll just say when the heroine, or I guess in this story we'll just call it the female main character, spends a good portion of the book stalking, trapping, kidnapping, and holding the male main character in chains on her bed. Like I didn't know I needed that. That
Yes.
was
So should I just skip over to that one?
Yeah, but great characters in that.
Yeah.
And the dynamic was fabulous. So fun to read.
I mean, in reading a series like that, you can't help but want to write your own.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because it's just such a fun sandbox to play in.
Yes.
And so the point I was getting to coming around was that it's getting to the point where, it started out where the werewolves were over here and the vampires had their area. Everyone was all separated, but there's so much intermarriage now that's happened between the different factions that they're all forced to be friends and like deal with each other and stuff. And so it gets so cute. Yeah.
I mean, isn't that like real life?
Right.
You're going to stick with your own kind. Okay.
Yeah.
Generations later, we get
right. Like, well, that went out the window.
Yeah. Oh, Alicia, you're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, with that series, it's the first book. You have to just make it through that first book. I think the first book can easily turn people off.
Oh yeah, it almost did me. And if I hadn't had the warning I think it was Izzy that said, the first book, maybe the second one you might have trouble with, but it gets great after that. And so yeah, definitely.
I mean, I think the first book is great. It's just you gotta like the hero has literally, and this is no spoiler, Alicia, so I'm not spoiling it. The way that she writes it, he's very like, oh, I've been underground for hundreds of years, and I'm like, free. I'm a little aggressive, and then you have this very passive heroine. Like, the way that they contrast each other, I think, is genius. However, that could turn some people off.
Yeah,
you just gotta remember he's been underground for a really long time.
Yeah.
Bites off his own leg or something. I can't remember.
And wasn't he like, he wasn't just underground, he was like being burned alive, like constantly. The whole problem. Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. So he's got some issues.
Keep reading. Just keep reading.
Yeah.
Yes. Just keep reading, Alicia. Okay. Just keep reading.
It's I mean, for me, content warnings are more like just tags for, is this what you're looking for? More than like a content warning. It's just what am I in the mood for?
Yeah. I love that they're there. I just have really been like, I'm just gonna go into a book and we'll see what happens. I've been loving it. So yes, he chewed off his arm.
Oh, that's right, he did. Yeah.
As one does.
That's a trapped wolf will do.
Yeah. Nicole, with this being the first day of the hashtag 20K in 5 days, how did you do? Or have you done anything? Because I know Nicole's kind of like a night person somewhat. So she may be getting started.
Yeah, I've gotten a few words in today, but I've had to go back and forth between working and doing the social media stuff and everything.
Yeah. And see, I'm using Google Docs. And I don't know if I'm just stupid, but like
I use Google Docs.
It doesn't tell me. How do you set it up to where you know how many words you've written on there?
So it's in the tools and the word count, so that'll give you the total that you
Okay.
do. So I keep a side spreadsheet where I just plug in
Okay.
where I started at the beginning of the day, and then where I ended out.
Because I mean, like usually, like word. It'll like say
Hmm.
it at the bottom, and I'm like, okay, I'm on Google Docs. Where does it tell me how many words I have on the page? I have no idea.
And I think you can set it to where it keeps the count on the bottom
Okay.
of the page.
Okay. That's okay, Nicole. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I am just I don't know. I feel like I was using like being a pantser as kind of a crutch for I tried to sit and like plot things out. But that drove me insane. So I think kind of just flying by the seat of my pants, but then stopping and being like, okay, what do I want to happen next? I do think I need to have that, just like one or two sentences of like, all right, we're here. This is what I want to happen next. And then just like going at it. And if that
Hmm.
happens, great. If it doesn't happen, then great. Um, and like you've always said, like, don't be afraid to write a shitty sentence. And I think the more that I like really just sat and reflected on that, I was like, okay, it takes so much pressure off, you know?
Hmm.
And like
Yeah.
I had my husband read the first chapter and he was like, well, he's more of a script writer.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, I don't really read novels, so I mean I like it. He's like,
Like
but
the internal dialogue
yeah,
was,
yeah.
yeah.
And he's also like, but just know that it's probably not gonna be the first chapter of the finished product. And I'm like, oh, we all
Mhm.
know that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's probably gonna change, but at least it's done.
Hmm. Yeah, making progress.
Yeah.
Definitely. And just yeah, getting used to writing
Yeah.
itself. I
And
think that's go ahead.
well, and another thing, of course I love rom-coms and I really want to write a rom-com. And they're on Twitter, there's a group, they're doing rom-com March. So I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
try that. But I just had to realize, I'm like, you are like a true Scorpio. I am so emotional and moody. Heartwarming, like emotional,
Hmm.
heartwarming or romance has to be one of those lines has to be the one that I target. I
Uh-huh.
feel like I mean I'm not ready to try to write steam yet.
Right.
The emotional stuff, I got this.
Yeah.
I can do.
Writing steam is hard. It's so hard to get it right, like to write it to where it's good but
Yeah.
not cringe worthy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to be good at it, but it's going to take practice.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. And that's why I think a lot of people do so well to start writing in like just under the bed erotica or like fan fiction stuff because it takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
They don't have to care if anyone reads it, but they'll get into that practice of writing and they'll improve just from doing it, just from the practice of doing.
Yeah. Well, the best women's erotica, I had messaged Nicole and I was like, we have to submit. I think I could try something like that because it's short stories
Hmm.
and they
Yeah.
give you a theme. So the theme for the next one is temptation. Ooh.
Oh.
And my mind immediately was like, ooh, you could do like a modern day gothic romance type of like short story. Like I have a Pinterest board all made up. I just have to write it. But I'm like,
Hmm.
it's quick. That quick erotica fix, I think I could do. But like a full length thing, I just
Yeah.
don't know if I'm quite there yet. But
Uh-huh.
I mean, I read a lot of like short erotica, so I feel like I could do the bite
There
size.
erotica does have to, it has
Yeah.
to have a time length because
Yeah.
it can get kind of exhausting,
Yeah. I don't want to be exhausted.
Right?
Thank you, Alicia. I'm gonna see. I'm really wanting because I love those collections. And I'm like, you don't have to already like, I was like, is this for published like people that are already published? And
Hmm.
no, I mean, obviously the people that get put in are published because they're probably the only ones that are submitting.
Yeah, right.
Like I could at least try. All they
Yeah,
can say is,
yeah.
no, this is trash. It's not going in, and it's fine. Try again next time. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll get there. We'll get into the submitting process.
Okay. we yeah. I figured that
Yeah.
you do have a job and date nights with your husband and
We start to worry about those characters sometimes. Are you all right? Are we
they're in good hands.
take a water break?
Nicole knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
They're in good hands.
All right. So, what do you say? I've got a 45-minute
Let's do
queued
it.
up. That.
Let's do it. I've never done this before. So, okay, I have us pulled up here. I can just pull up my other screen. Can you still see me?
Yep.
Okay. I've never done this before. Okay. All right. Tell me when, and are we going to mute? We're going to
Yeah,
mute.
let's go ahead and mute out. And
Okay. I'm ready.
all right. All right. How did we do?
We did.
Yes.
We did. I mean, I'm working through the second chapter, so
Mhm.
you know,
I'm excited to read what you have.
I will send
So,
it to you. Let me get through the second chapter, and then I'll
yeah.
I was like, okay, we're gonna do this, and then so I started, and I'm like, well, where is this going? So
Mhm.
we'll see. How did you do?
I did all right. So I got through my female main character's perspective in the first chapter, and now
Okay.
I've flipped to the male main character's point of view.
Hmm.
So yeah, she got that speed bump or whatever, that things were going great and as planned, and then something comes up that yeah, throws
Yeah.
throws throws a wrench in everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so mine, I feel like most of, well, it really is. Most of my first chapter is like a lot of dialogue, but
Uh-huh.
it's like I was reading about dialogue and um what did I highlight? It said basically like dialogue is a good way of like letting the reader know it's a good way of like it's like talking about what's happening or whatever.
Yeah. Hmm.
And can help the readers like fall in love with the characters or whatever. So I was like, okay, my heroine's a screenwriter, and I'm like, how do I get before I get her back home because it's going to be a return home story?
Hmm.
How do I get her and the hero on the same page together?
Yeah.
So I actually have her doing an interview and he's watching it. And I'm like, technically, I'm writing them on the same page on the page together. He's
Yeah.
watching her. So I mean, I really like, and I didn't go with, my whole for him, my how he really presented to me was like the whole suicide story that I gave you.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that it's going to be like a marriage situation. I do have him in my mind now as more of like a divorcee.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I do think it came to me today was like he did still experience a suicide, but I'm thinking it was his mom because
Okay.
I feel like it just came. He was raised by his grandmother, like from a young age, and like
Hmm.
that happened. So I still have that like abandonment thing with him.
Yeah.
Um, choosing to stay. Nobody, just that feeling of like nobody chooses me, like nobody chooses. I don't feel like I'm good enough for somebody to stay, kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And with her coming home, and I have her going home because she is wanting to write more of like a small town series for streaming or whatever, and it just
Hmm.
feels like it feels right to go home. But here comes the like emotional, heartwarming part of it. Like
Uh-huh.
she's doing this interview because her husband, and I think I told you this in my message. Like this was all inspired. I watched that Jackie Collins documentary, and in it,
Yeah.
it talked about her husband like
Hmm.
worshiped the ground she walked on. And it just came to me. I'm like, your girl experienced that great love, and she feels like she'll never experience that again.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, like she's going home. She's gonna write this small town story. She doesn't feel like she could really capture that being in like New York City. So
Yeah.
it's
Right.
temporary. Like I'm gonna go back and I'm just gonna do my thing and then I'm gonna come back.
Hmm.
But here is this, teenage best friend of hers who was like always crazy about her. And like he feels like this is my chance to shoot my
Uh-huh.
shot, you know?
Yeah.
It's so messy and it's going to be emotional. So we'll see. We'll see. I really think like I was stressing myself out like, oh, you have to know all these things about these characters. But
Hmm.
I think for me, it's like as long as I have an idea and like the more that I write, I feel like all those kinks will just kind of reveal themselves, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what
I
about you?
agree.
What about you?
Yeah, I agree on that. That I'm more of a pantser when it comes to, you know, even like creating characters. Like
Mhm.
I'll take them to a diner,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, okay, well, the what's the name tag of the server that's there, and then get too far into who that server is
Yeah.
and who their romantic interest is going to be and all that.
Yeah, because we always hear like literally they're we're supposed to ask ourselves why. And I feel
Hmm.
like for us as newbies, we're gonna go too far down the
Yeah.
track of why, you know?
Uh-huh.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
and it's so easy to get lost
Mhm.
down the planning path, at least for myself.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just have to go with it.
Hmm.
Alicia, so Alicia's outlining?
So she's trying the Save the Cat
Okay.
character outline.
Okay.
Okay. So
Good.
that's Melinda Curtis wrote that one, right? Save the
Well,
Cat.
there's a Save the Cat. Initially, it was for screenwriters.
Okay.
I'll send you a picture of the one that I have. I read it a couple months ago. They have one for novels, and it's really good.
Okay.
I'll send you a picture of it. It was really good. She like breaks down books like Harry Potter and stuff like that. It's like, oh wow,
Hmm. Oh,
okay, okay, it makes sense. Alicia, you're gonna have to join us on one of these.
yeah.
We're writing.
Hmm.
So yeah, I feel like that's a good place. I'm in a good place for today. I'm going to, I think tonight, think about the second chapter.
Hmm.
I mean, I like where I'm at right now, but I'm like, again, kind of going back to that why. I kind of had another idea for them, like actually meeting, but I also think the path that I'm on could maybe work. So we'll see. I
Uh-huh.
don't. I just have to. I'm stewing on like, do I like what I just did?
Uh-huh.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Because you've lived
You're,
in Missouri, and this
oh
is like
yeah.
a fictionalized version of my small town, and I'm like, where does everybody go that's like of a certain age? Because I have her with her grandmother, and I'm like, well, okay, my grand does not drive, and her
Uh-huh.
place to hang out is Walmart. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I have her in Walmart, and she's like, I really don't have any reason to be here.
Uh-huh.
And I have her pick up a magazine. Like she's like, she wants to go to the book section because I'm like, well, my favorite part of Walmart when I was a kid at home was the book magazine and book section. So she goes there, and of course, starts off with the interview. She sees her face on a tabloid, and she's like a screenwriter. She's like, I don't ever see my face on a tabloid, but
Right. Yeah.
everybody's anticipating this kind of, can she bounce back after this tragic
Hmm.
loss of hers? And so I don't know. I'm like, do I want them to run into each other at the Walmart? I want them to run into each other somewhere else. I don't know. So that's where I'm
Yeah.
at. I will
Yeah.
let you know.
I know that is tough because, yeah, when I lived in Missouri, I lived in a town so small that probably, so there was a country market and there was a Dollar General. That's that's about it.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. There, I think there were a couple four-way stops, but I don't think there was a single traffic light.
I love it. I'm like, at least my town, like, oh, I'm from where the state fair was held. So small town, but like in August,
Uh-huh.
everybody that is into the fair and
Yeah.
agriculture is there. So at least they have a Walmart.
Uh-huh.
Bless their hearts.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Oh yeah. Well, okay, so let me know, message me if you want to do another one of these. I am done
Okay.
with
Yeah,
school for the
definitely.
week, so I am trying to really get it in.
Mm-hmm.
once I'm done.
Yeah, so I've got the Lost Apothecary live show tomorrow
Okay.
on Nicole's channel.
Okay.
But day after Thursday, I think I can probably do another one.
Okay.
So,
Even
yeah.
if you're just like, hey, let's write for 60 minutes and then chat about it on Voxer, whatever you want to do, just let me know.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. But thank you so much for joining me for the impromptu live reading sprint.
Alicia, are you going to join us?
Yeah.
We want to know all about what you have going on, Alicia. So just saying. Just saying. All righty. Well, let me know
All right.
on whenever.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks for having me. You know,
Yeah,
you're
no
one of my
problem.
favorite people. All right. Bye.
Back at you. Bye.